I mean, I'm actually a little bit shook. I'm just still so shocked. I really did not expect that to happen. In the past, I very rarely used under eye concealer as part of my daily makeup routine, so I never really had an opinion on what is the best drugstore concealer for that area. So for this video, I wanted to take a deep dive into some of the most raved about drugstore concealers here on YouTube and put them to the test against one another. I'm testing 4 super popular drugstore concealers today over a course of 3 days in a split face test. And you may or may not be surprised with which one ended up on top, but I definitely was shocked. If you're new here, hey, I'm Miranda. Welcome back to my channel where I talk all things budget, beauty, fashion, and lifestyle. If that sounds interesting to you, then become the newest member of the Slashed Squad by hitting subscribe and the bell icon. So let's jump into this makeup showdown. All right, today is round 1 of this battle of the drugstore concealers. It is currently 8:35 in the morning. And today's contestants, the brand new Covergirl True Blend Undercover Concealer. This is a $10.99 concealer, and today we're pinning it against the $3.99 Essence Camouflauge and Matte Concealer. This is a full coverage concealer. It's waterproof. It claims to cover tattoos. I am gonna put on a little foundation to start out though. This is the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Foundation Stick. Gives me a good medium coverage base. Let's go ahead and start with the drugstore darling, the Covergirl True Blend Undercover Concealer. This shade is Golden Ivory, which is definitely a highlight shade for me, obviously. From experience of testing this over the past couple days, I know that I gotta blend this fast because it sets really quickly. Now I do know from testing out this concealer over the past week or so that despite its claims that it doesn't crease or bunch, it does unless you set it with powder. I will be setting them both today, and I'm using the Coty Air Spun Powder, which is a drugstore classic that works incredibly well. For the other eye, we're putting on the Essence Camouflage Plus Matte Concealer. Now this one is noticeably thinner, but it still packs a lot of coverage. One thing about it being thin is that it kind of spreads easily. It's kind of getting everywhere. This might be better with a sponge. Yeah, this is a much better way to apply this. Because it's a little bit liquidy, brush just wasn't doing it. Wow, I feel like that was way easier to blend out because it is a little bit of a thinner formula. I mean, I feel like they covered about the same amount, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and set that. These are both a matte formula, but the Covergirl one is dry and thick. But when it comes right down to it, I feel like the difference in coverage is so minimal. So we're just gonna keep an eye on my under eyes today. I will check back in with you a little bit later so we can see which one performs better throughout the day. Update time! It is now about 12:30 in the afternoon. At this point, I feel like they're performing very similarly. I'm seeing a little bit less creasing with the Covergirl concealer. There is slight creasing with both concealers in that area, but I think it's just a tiny bit less pronounced and less bunched on the Covergirl side. What do you think? Haven't experienced too much fading, and my under eyes still look hella bright. Here we are, last update of the day for round 1 of the battle of the drugstore concealers, and the Covergirl definitely won. I will say for a $3.99 concealer, Essence held in there. It held its own. It put up a good fight. But overall, the Covergirl side did have less creasing. There was a little bit in the deepest part of that under eye line that I have. But in the finer lines, there's absolutely no bunching, whereas the Essence side did bunch in the smaller lines that I have in that area. Also, the coverage stayed a little bit stronger on the Covergirl side. All right, round 2 starts tomorrow. Good morning, it is the next day and we're here with another battle of the concealers. I've already put on a medium coverage foundation, but I did leave most of the under eye area alone. So yesterday was a pretty close call, but in the end, the Covergirl True Blend Undercover Concealer definitely outperformed the Essence one. So today I'm going to be putting it to the test against one more concealer that is slightly cheaper, but equally as raved about, if not more, the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. First up, Covergirl is going under my right eye. And again, going to be setting this concealer right away using Coty Air Spun. Now going in with the No Filter Concealer from ColourPop. Now this has a considerably smaller and flatter applicator. Although the smaller applicator I feel like is actually kind of easy to use. You can really get up into the corners. The ColourPop one definitely blends out a lot easier and faster in my opinion. It doesn't start setting right away. You have a little bit of time to work with it. And setting this side as well. It's looking pretty smooth right now, but obviously I do have those creases under my eyes, so we'll see how this holds up and how it's looking in a few hours. Hello, it is currently 12:28. It's been a few hours. Let's check in on these eyes. So to be completely honest, this is about a tie so far. And this was a really good day to test because I have not gotten great sleep over the past couple days. So far, very happy with both of these. We'll see by the end of the day who comes out on top. All right, everyone, it is almost 5 p.m. so we've had these concealers on practically all day, and I know I've had different looks every time you saw me today. I'm working on a lot of different stuff. But what is the verdict? ColourPop versus Covergirl. So honestly, this one might be a tie. I don't see a big enough difference to actually say that one performed better than the other. The way that my under eyes creased are almost identical on both sides. I think right off the bat, Covergirl probably had a little bit more coverage, but as it wore throughout the day, they kind of ended up at the same level of coverage. Depending on where you're getting the Covergirl concealer, the ColourPop can run you about $4 cheaper. Now this is where this battle of the drugstore concealers was originally going to end, but then I realized I don't think this would be fair without featuring one more drugstore concealer that is heavily raved about here on YouTube. So I'll see you tomorrow for one more wear test. All right, we have reached the last round of this drugstore concealer battle. So yesterday we were left without a clear winner, but I am going to be testing the Covergirl concealer one last time against this raved about, very affordable concealer that may or may not be a dupe. Today we're pitting the Undercover Concealer against the 16-hour Camo Concealer from e.l.f. Starting out one last time with Covergirl. Oh shoot, I used the wrong shade. I accidentally used the wrong shade, y'all. This is the really, really light one from the first day. All right, gonna go in and set it quickly. All right, putting e.l.f. on the other eye. Now this is the shade Medium Peach, and I will say that I tested it out yesterday on just my hand to see if I picked the right shade, and this oxidizes like crazy. So it's gonna go on looking insanely light, but I promise you, it'll set. I mean, oh wait, first of all, I wanted to point out, this has almost the exact same applicator as the Covergirl. I mean, I would go as far to say these are exactly the same size, shape, feel, texture. So that's why I think these are getting a lot of comparison, besides the fact that this e.l.f. concealer just has a ton of coverage. Okay, hold on, let me blend out. I feel that the e.l.f. is a bit easier to blend. Ugh, I just poked my eye. Even though it's just as creamy upon first swatch, you have a little bit more time to play with it than with the Covergirl concealer. So we'll see how this wears throughout the day. I'll go ahead and zoom you in so you can kind of see where we're starting at, and then I'll check in with you in a few hours. All right, it's almost 1:30 p.m. I realized that I forgot to show you what time it was when I put this concealer on. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning on the dot. I'm actually a little bit shook because I think that the e.l.f. one is looking a lot better. I can already see creasing in that deep line under my eye on the Covergirl side, and on the e.l.f. side, it is just not as pronounced. Very excited to see how it holds up through the end of the day. I will check back in with you one more time. Final check-in, final round, and I am so surprised with these results. The e.l.f. concealer totally won. It's so obvious, no contest. With the e.l.f. concealer, the only creasing that we really saw today, and it didn't even get much worse since my last check-in, was in the deepest part of that main line under my eye. Whereas the Covergirl concealer did not only just bunch there, which I expected, we saw that the other day, but it also started creasing in my finer lines under my eyes. I feel like the difference is really noticeable with these two. Aside from the creasing, the actual coverage of both of these concealers is very comparable. Neither of them really faded to a point where I can start seeing my skin coming through underneath. Everything is still very well covered, bright, and smooth looking besides the creasing. But with all that said, I think we have a clear winner, y'all. So out of these 4 hyped up drugstore concealers, the e.l.f. 16-hour Camo Concealer won by a landslide in my opinion. Did this result surprise you, or do you already use this concealer because you knew it was that good? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Today's shout out goes to Kimberly Minto. Thanks for being a Slashed Squad member over on Instagram. And join me in this video next where I review the drugstore foundation that I used throughout this video. I'll see you over there. Bye!